Well, hello. Good morning, afternoon, and good night to Mr. Dai and anyone else who watches this video. And as you can hear yourself, as you can tell, I'm currently speaking in English for this video. Why is that? Well, for context, this video is a kind of commentary or additional material to that quiz. A quiz which I've taken about a week ago or so, yeah. So this video has the purpose of making that quiz, the answers of my quiz, a lot richer, you could say. And in that quiz, I answered every single question in English. So I thought that if I thought that I'll do this video in English. I thought that would be fun. Okay, so the quiz has 4 questions. The first one is basically to give my own understanding of die 5, the die 5 method. And in that video, I quite analyzed everything quite thoroughly and with as much detail as I can. I even drew the diagram or the flow chart of the steps of die 5, the 4 steps, intention, initial thinking, idealization, and instruction set. All of that is quite detailed, and I think I put everything in there already. What I didn't put in, however, is a detailed comparison to another thinking method, and which I choose the MAIC or the MAIC, the one which is pretty viral at the moment with the whole Sigma grind set stuff. So in this video, I'll compare it more detailed. I do a more detailed comparison between die 5 and the MAIC. So, the MAIC has 5 steps, because you can see in the acronym it has 5 letters, the MAIC. The first step, the D, is define. Now, in this step, define, you basically using statistic to define a problem and choosing or deciding the priority regarding that problem. So, yeah. By definition, this step is very similar to the first step in the die 5, the intention. The only difference being in the die 5, there's a bit more of an emotional, philosophical sort of angle to it. Like the intention part in die 5 explores your purpose or your motivation in solving a problem, while here the define step in the MAIC is much more straightforward in its scientific angle to defining and choosing a priority regarding fixing a problem. So yeah, that's the difference between the first 2 steps, the first steps in each of these thinking methods. And the second step in the MAIC, the M, is called measure. Now, in this step is similar to the first step, but in a much more detailed and accurate way to analyze a problem using a tool, or 2 tools actually, a a measuring system analysis and a process capability analysis. These 2 tools are used to analyze much more detailedly, to do a much more detailed analysis to a certain problem. So you'll know what the problem is in a much more accurate way. So this measure step of the MAIC is actually more akin to the second step of die 5, which is initial thinking. In that in both of these steps, you need to find data and factors and everything else regarding the main problem, like what are the data, or what are like the specification of the problem, like all that. So it's actually almost a 1-to-1 comparison, with the second step in die 5, which is initial thinking. So yeah, it's basically you just analyze the problem and finding out the data and factors in the problem. So the third step in the mic is analyze. So in analyze, in this phase, you basically look and decide the root of those problems. But the problem with that is that the problems, sometimes can get very complex. So it can get quite confusing to decide which ones to fix and which ones not to fix. The lines kind of blur in that, it can get quite blurry and you can't really decide what to do. But if you took your time enough and with enough sophisticated tools and accuracy and detailing, you can decide what to do next. Now this analyze step, or the third step in the mic, is also a bit like the second step. It's also a bit akin and similar to the second step of die 5, which is the initial thinking. You basically still trying to gather as much info, data, and factors to make sure you have everything you need to go to the next step and finding a solution to the problem. So yeah, the measure and analyze step of the mic is basically like you can squish those together and they'll become the second step of the mic. Of the die 5 step, which is initial thinking. Now, the fourth step, the I, is for improve. Now, in this phase, you're basically upgrading your process and eliminating all the mistakes or the inaccuracies that you've made during the steps before. And this is actually a lot similar to the third step in die 5, which is to idealizations, which means you can, find out, you know all the factors. Now it's time to filter them out and use the one useful for finding our problem. Like trying to find an equation or trying to find whatever it is you need to find those problems. And finally, trying to get to the solutions. So yeah, it's more similar to the third step of die 5, which is idealizations. Now the fifth and final step of the mic is the control. Now in this, you can finally control your working process and make sure in this process you don't find any errors, and you'll trying to find the sort of list and steps to make sure you'll find the solution to a certain problem, which can help you reduce variability and monitor your working process at almost all times. And this control step is most similar to the final step of die 5, which is the instruction set. Basically, you're listing what to do to find this problem. It's basically what it is. To you control your working process and make sure no errors happen. That's basically what instruction sets are for. You can improve and get better with the critics and things that people who've used this instruction set say about the instruction set itself, so that it can get better and more perfect as time goes on. So yeah, that's basically what die 5 is in comparison to the mic. So there's not much difference there, but other than the whole like religious and philosophical side that die 5 uses to make sure you have like a certain motivation and drive to fix a certain problem. That's basically the difference. Okay, that's the first question done. Okay, now we can continue to number 2, which is we're using the die 5 method to solve a problem. Now in the first the quiz that I did, I used the derivative method to solve a heat equation in a one-dimensional rod, which I did fine, I think, in that one. Now in this video, I'll use the derivative method to solve a problem regarding a measuring cup. Now the problem is we need to determine the location of the mark line for the content volume of a 500 millimeter in a measuring cup with its dimension here. I'll have the picture here showed about its dimension. Now, first we need to go with the first step, which is intention. From the problem itself, we can see our intention is to design the line in which 500 milliliters of water would end in the measuring cup, so that people, when they use this measuring cup for, say, cooking or whatever it is they use it for, they can, be able to measure it much more, because they'll be able to measure the how much milliliters they need in a much more accurate way, so that I can help more people by solving this problem. So I'll use it as my motivation, as my intention, you could say. Now, we'll go next in our second step, which is initial thinking. What do we need? We need our dimensions. We have our dimensions here in this picture I'm showing you. And by using this picture, by breaking it in half, we can find an equation or a function that represents the sort of coordination of the volume and the height of the water, which results in this function x or y equals 0.16 y plus 3.75. Now, by using this equation, we can determine the volume content of the measuring cup, which is, you can see here. It's quite long, so you can read it yourself. Now that we have all these equations in place, so we can now go to the third step, which is idealization. What do we do with all this data we have, with all this equation we have? Well, we can see that the volume of the measuring cup is, the content level L is 500 milliliters or 500 centimeters cubic. We will have the following equation for the unknown quantity of L, which is 500 equals 0.0268 L cubic, plus 1.884 L squared plus 44.15 L, which you can simplify it more into this: L cubic plus 70.3 L squared plus 1647.39 L minus 18,656.72 equals 0. I'm sorry if I'm a bit blabbering. I'm kind of tired. So that's the equation we have. Now, in this we can use the Newton-Raphson method by substituting the L with an x. Now we have a function now, which is this. You're just swapping the L with an x. Now we need to find the derivative of the function, which turns it into this. Now we will estimate the root of equation of the first equation before we derivative it. With L equals x1 equals 4.0. Yeah. And using the equation to find the next estimate root, which is this. Now we have x1 and x2. And now we found the subsequent estimation of the roots of equation, the derivative equation, rapidly converging to these values. Now we have to these values. Yeah. Now we have x3 and x4. Now I'm gonna use an online software called Wolfram Alpha widgets. Sorry. Now with this program, we can actually find the actual solution to the problem by online. It's 8.1566. Now the closest one, out of x1, x2, x3, x4 is x4, which has the value of 8.15. Now by this, we know that the length between the bottom and the cup to when it reaches 500 milliliters is 8.15 centimeters. Now that we find this problem, we can actually now construct the instruction set, which is, from determining the function and the dimensions of the cup to finding the expression of the volume, and then derivative find its, and then we can find its derivative, and then we'll find the estimated root. After we find all 4 of the estimated root, we use an online software to find the actual answer and find which one of these is the closest to the solution. And after that, we can finally draw the mark line on the cup to mark the 500 milliliters mark. So yeah, that's the 500. So that's that's the number 2. So number 3 is basically to say the added value that I've gotten from this this quiz, or not the quiz, but from the die 5 method. So what I like to highlight, the thing that I didn't think I had written down in the quiz, is that the whole emotional value that I've received from using this method, the whole what drives you to to solve this problem. You need to find that emotionally, and this method kind of helps me figuring that out, and it makes it so much easier and less confusing and less a lot less tiring in finding a solution to a certain problem. Let alone with the rest of the steps, I'm only highlighting the intention part, because the intention is what gives me the drive to solve these problems. And with the rest of the steps, it makes it very clear and not as confusing, and basically making it much more easier for me to identify a problem, define a problem, analyze a problem, and finally finding a solution to that problem. So yeah, basically, the concise steps and the whole emotional philosophical side of the die 5 method helps me really to find basically my purpose as an engineer, as a human being, as a citizen, to to detect problem, define it, analyze it, and finally finding the solution to that problem for the better of humanity, basically. So yeah, that's number 3. Now number 4 is self-evaluation. Now, for self-evaluation, I have to admit I haven't utilized the die 5 method the best as I could have. Now, why that is, because as you can tell from my answer for number 3, that the whole philosophical emotional aspect of the die 5 is what helps me find added value from it. It's also what keeps me from maximizing it, if you can tell, because there's this whole religious, philosophical, emotional side of die 5, and the whole God gives you a purpose, and God puts you on this earth to fix, to find solution to problem, to help people and all that stuff, which is good, and I can relate because I was born in this religious country, obviously, but it is also me as a person, I have struggled with religious faith stuff, as many of you are probably. And I don't know, this struggle in me kind of made me, I don't know, contemplate on whether or not the whole God giving you, like, you're here because of God, and don't think that you're better by solving this problem, because God gives you that purpose, and only God can, can help you fix this problem. Which is, it's well and good, I think, for any religious people, but I wouldn't consider myself the most religious person, which, contribute to me having religious struggles. And this Die 5 method kind of only reminded me of that. So I just have to, accept the whole religious part. And basically, I honestly still don't know why the whole religious aspect of this Die 5 still, I don't know, made me think twice. I think because, the whole, I don't like superstition. I don't like when people use religion to justify evil and all the wrong things they've done, which I've seen numerous times in my life. Well, I still believe in a God. I'm still also struggling with that belief itself, partially because of, a lot of evil people using religion to justify the things they did. So yeah, I think it's just because of the whole religious aspect. Like, I tend to ask myself, is the whole religious thing really important for me to solve, like a just a certain numerical or engineering problems? I keep asking myself that, and ended up not maximizing the method itself. But outside of that, I think I still managed to be well enough and to, implement the method so that every problem that I encountered now becomes a lot more simpler for me to solve, to find the solution for, So yeah, I think I only need to, put a bit more thought into the whole philosophical and religious side. But everything else, I think I've done decently well so far. So yeah, I need to, to be critical of myself and my way of using the method. But so far, not so bad. I think it has helped me to solve problem in a much more easier way and simpler and less confusing way. So yeah, I had in part that I have to thank Mr. Dai to giving me and all of my colleagues this method in solving problems, because it truly does help all of us. So yes, I just have to say a massive thank you to you, sir, for this. And so yeah, that's the self-evaluation for me. So yes, so that's basically all of this so far. That's all I could say in this video. I hope this enriches the quiz that I written in paper last week and recontextualize everything I've written on that paper. And I hope it can add sort of, I don't know, add more to the understanding of the Die 5 method, and to help me and everyone else improve in using it. So yeah, that's all I can say, and thank you for watching.